Hi guys, Chris from Veshrip here. Hope you guys are having an awesome day. Alright, today we're going to be pretty hands-on. So I've taken one of the easiest snakes that we work with. Some of you that know me is probably having a laugh because I'm holding a ball python. Today we're going to talk about mites. Mites is one of those things in the beginning can be more of irritation, but it can go over to a lot of health issues that you're going to be running in down the line. And there's going to be a short little clip. We're not going to go into detail on what diseases can be transmitted, what the repercussions of mites is long term if left untreated. Today I'm going to focus only on the treatment of mites. And this is one of those, it's a controversial subject in the sense of you shouldn't use this, you shouldn't do that, but this is what I've heard. So what I'm actually going to do today is just going to explain to you how we treat mites at the Inveshrip facility. And when I say treat mites, I've done quite a few treatments in my life. I've been treating this method I've been using for about 22 years now, out of the 35 years of keeping snakes. Before that, I was keeping more of the local stuff. I think at one stage you go into the exotic stuff, then you start working with pet shops and all that. And that's when you run into problems. It's when you start moving reptiles back and forth. That's why when we get reptiles in here, we're actually going to talk about preliminary precaution as well on how to prevent mites getting into your collection. And if they do get into your collection, how to get them out. So I'm just going to stick to the basics on this video so that you guys can use this video as a reference if you run into mites. How do you know there's mites? Number one, your snake is going to start acting differently, and the most obvious thing that we've noticed is they start laying in the water. At the end of the day, they feel that irritation and they actually sense that irritation, and one of the things they do is they go lie in water bowls to try and get rid of the mites. So if you suspect mites in your collection, the first place you can look in is your water bowl. You'll actually see little black dots. I'm going to see if I can get a picture up here of what a mite looks like, and it's minute. You've got to have a really good eye to see them. And this treatment that I use, some people will say it's a pretty harsh treatment. I found it to be very effective, and even on my long-term treatments. I'll do a treatment, I'll do a repeat treatment after about 2 weeks. And since I've done that, we've been mite free completely for the past 3 years, and we move quite a bit of snakes back and forth. And that's also due to our precaution methods that we use. I just want to get this guy is now clinging onto me. I need my hand, so I'm actually going to do the whole snake thing and it won't kill me. Okay, so the first thing, get hold of Frontline. This is the spray-on application, nothing else. I use Frontline. I said it. A lot of people will hands up in the air. There's warning labels about this. Not if you use it correctly. A couple of things I need to point out. This stuff is potent on the smell, so you can't treat the snake in the enclosure. So the first thing we're going to do is get the snake out and prepare a box. So what I like to do is I take a holding box and I actually put white paper towels, and the reason for taking white paper towels is that I can actually see if there's movement after the treatment. If I still see mites moving about, I might do a second treatment the same day on that snake. Okay, so the first thing I do, I get my box ready with some white paper toweling, and I take microfiber cloth, and I'll just initially spray on the end here where I'm holding my finger. Spray on here, and then I'll start with the snake. Come here, boy. Okay, so the first thing I do with this dab is, the snake might not like it. If you've got a biter, get some help, but you're going to get bitten if it's going to be a biter, because number one is I'm going to rub under the chin area. So that little fold over there, might love that. Okay, so I'll give that a couple of wipes, and then also the eye area. So I'll actually move across the eye. I don't want to stress the snake out too much because she doesn't have mites. I'll wipe over the eye. Then I'll actually spray pretty generously on the entire microfiber cloth, like I'm holding here. It's like folded into 4 pieces. And I actually wipe the snake down completely. Okay, so all the way to the tip of the tail. I'll probably do about 2 or 3 wipes like that. And then I'll actually hold the snake that it ventilates. You'll actually smell there's a very strong line that comes all front line. Keep it there for about 30 seconds to a minute until it evaporates. You can even do this in an area where there's quite a bit of ventilation. It's an aggressive snake. You can put it in the tub, but don't close the lid. Let the vapors just evaporate. Then you can close the lid once that strong smell has disappeared. Okay, so now I won't need the snake anymore. We're going into enclosure treatment. So now I've treated, just gave me a kiss. So now I've treated the snake. So the problem with the snake is now resolved. And what I love about Frontline, it actually creates a barrier on the snake. So any mites trying to get back onto the snake will actually die off as well. The second thing you need to do, every single accessory in your enclosure needs to come out. Wood's the worst because they can actually get into the wood, into the porous sections. So your water bowls, your hides, everything needs to come out. What I then do is I take a bathtub, fill it up to where the hot water runs out or to where I can fill it up on the maximum level. And I dump all my accessories in there. The one thing you're going to lose, unfortunately, is your substrate. If you're using wood chips like I do, it's going to go down into the bin, into a black bag, out the facility immediately. Do not put that bag down and think it's going to be all right. Mites can crawl about, if I've got it right, about 6 meters in a night. So you can just imagine if one little mite goes out, you're going to spread to your entire collection. So now we've got the cage cleaned up, so it looks like the day it came from the factory. Everything is cleaned out. Then I actually take Frontline. So instead of just wiping the cage up, I normally vacuum, especially the sides, the rails, everything. Luckily the Reticube doesn't have that problem, but you've got to vacuum everything along the side here, on the inside. So when I say on the inside, I mean on the boundary here. Once you've done that, I'll actually take Frontline on the microfiber cloth I used, spray it on the microfiber and wipe off the entire inside and outside of the cage. The reason is, the method behind the madness is if that mite comes out and it wants to move over to another enclosure, that's already a barrier. So you're protecting the enclosure next to it as well. So then, now the snake is so you've taken out the substrate, you've probably spent one plus hour on getting everything dunked in the water, the hottest water you can find. And the reason for the hottest water is at a certain temperature, about 34, mites get burned to death. And that's number one, the method behind the madness. And number two is it drowns the mite as well. So it kills it off completely in the water, and it's not a chemical treatment as such. What I'd like to do is, once I've got the stuff in the tub, just preliminary caution in general, I'd get a little bit of F10, which the F10 SC, and I just dilute it a little bit, get it into the water, so it actually just sterilizes everything in there as well. Just as a double treatment, if I can put it that way. Okay, so now everything in the cage is clean. All I'm going to do is everything that's now in the water, it's been lying there for about an hour or two, put it in the sun to dry out completely, and then you take the water bowls, the hides, everything, and wipe it down, put it in the cage. You can fill up the water the same day that you've done your treatment. Put the snake in, but do not go back to your normal substrate if you're not using paper towels. I would recommend for the next 2 weeks you're going to be using paper towel. For the reason is you can see movement immediately on that. Also in enclosures, one thing I've noticed with the light colored enclosure, that's why a lot of big breeding facilities sticks with the white. You can actually see mites moving between. If you've got a black mite, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to see them. You can actually take a torch in the night time and shine down and see if there's any bumps on it. And if you see a bump and you take it and you wipe it between your fingers, you'll actually see the smudging. Then you know that that's a mite. Okay, they're pretty difficult to see. I'll keep the snake for about 10 to 14 days, like that, just everything clean and sterile. I'll monitor the situation, and then I'll take the snake out. I'll do a repeat wipe down of everything I did. So all the accessories, everything goes back into the hottest bath water you can find, dunk it in there, wipe down the enclosure, basically repeat step one all over again. That's what I do. As a preliminary precaution method, there's a couple of things I do. Number one, if a new snake, doesn't matter from which facility it comes through, how sterile, how clean, how well I know those guys, it gets wiped down the front line in the entire separate room. It's going to stay there the entire day so that we can check and monitor the snake. And then we'll move over to our quarantine area, which is 4 different enclosures that's out of the way, just to monitor snakes, that if there's anything funny that you're going to pick up. But the biggest problem between collections, as a general rule, is mites. Okay. Then, to keep my collection clean, I use what they call Vipona strips. Okay, so Vipona strips, it always looks, even brand new out of the packaging, it looks like old faded cardboard. It's got this thing in the middle here. I hang one per 30 square meters in a room. So if I've got a 6x6 that gives you 36 square meters, or I've got a 2x5, gives me 10 square meters, I'll use one of these. I'll use one per 30 square meters at the max. Smaller the better. And I'll actually hang that in the room, anywhere where it's open and you can actually ventilate across the room. And this serves as an insect repellent in general, and it's non-toxic. Some people put this in the enclosure with the snake. I'm not a big fan of that. I know mambas, from feedback we've got, mambas, you can actually see the dislike they've got for Vipona strips. And that's basically it. There's nothing else that I'll do differently. Like I say, sorry, you can see I'm in the tropical room. It's quite hot in here. So that's basically how I treat mites. I'm going to let John do a mite treatment talk as well, so you can just get his perspective on how we treat mites. Okay, so if there's any questions or comments, and like I said, this is how we've done it. I know there's a heap of other treatments that you can use. Dishwashing soap, you can use prevent a mite. There's a lot of products on the market out there, but the frontline treatment is the most effective if you do it correctly. I've never had repeat outbreaks with the treatment I've given you now. I had one outbreak. I've got snakes in, didn't check them the way I should have checked them. I think it was winter, and I just wanted to get them into the facility. They were quite valuable snakes. And yeah, 1 or 2 mites came through, and about 2 weeks later I noticed that they were on my hatchlings and juveniles, and I had to treat my entire room. Luckily what saved me is because we've got a couple of different rooms for our reptiles, it didn't spread throughout the entire collection, but I managed to control it within that room. And in the past I used exactly the same methods, and it's been proven effectively every single time. Alright guys, that's it for today. It's a very short, simple explaining how we do it, and all our snakes are happy and mite free. So if you guys got any comments relating to the subject, please leave it in the comments, and then please like and subscribe our page. Guys, have a great day. See you later.